Welcome to Dajobnik.
So, everybody, I've been told the Jordanian foreign minister is going to join us in a minute. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to continue our conversation now with our panel. Again, this is Peace in Pieces, the future of Israeli-Palestinian relations, the town hall here at the Munich Security Conference in conjunction with Conflict Zone. We are joined by Tzipi Livni, former foreign minister of Israel. Thank you for your time. As we wait for the Jordanian foreign minister to join us, Tzipi Livni, I'd just like to get a very brief comment from you at the beginning. Will Israel launch an offensive in Rafah, or will it listen to its allies and call for restraint?
Firstly, I think that it's a pity that Khadat Shtaya didn't wait to listen also to what we have to say. And maybe the best thing for, I don't know, next conference is to have all of us together on the same stage. I don't want to enter into the blame game, but there are certain things that need to be addressed. And this is about history. Since he referred to 1948, so let's speak about it. Because in 1947, the international community in the United Nations decided on what is called the partition plan. 2 states, one is a Jewish state, Israel, and the other is an Arab state.
Again,
no, he spoke about history, and I cannot let this situation to be a distorted history. And therefore, since that day, unfortunately, at that time the Arabs, later the Palestinians, didn't accept the ideas of the international community. I was the chief negotiator for peace in the last 2 rounds of negotiations. They were quite, I believe, just solutions on the table that they didn't say no, but they didn't say yes. And I'm saying it because I represent those in Israel believing that the idea of 2 states for 2 peoples represent the Israeli interest. I believe that this, in achieving peace, it's not only about security, but also the way to preserve Israel as a Jewish democratic state. And therefore, it is so important not just to enter into a blame game, but to understand history and to try to reach a solution for the future. And last comment is that in Gaza, there was no occupation. Israel decided, hello, Ayman. Israel decided to leave Gaza Strip. We dismantled the settlements. We pulled out our forces. We hoped that the Palestinians will use this opportunity to create something that their own people will be happy. Inside Gaza, flourish, and Hamas took over.
Just very briefly, just to kick off our conversation, do you believe, you've worked with Benjamin Netanyahu. Do you believe that there will indeed be an offensive that extends into Rafah? Just very quickly.
I don't know, but
yes or no?
Listen, this is a yes or no. I think that if our security needs are, and I do support it, to dismantle Hamas from its military infrastructure, and hopefully to replace Hamas with a more legitimate and pragmatic regime, the Israeli army will take the necessary step, including taking in consideration international humanitarian law as we need to. The absurd is that we called Palestinians to leave their homes not in order to expel them, but in order to save their lives because they are being kept as human shields by Hamas. And therefore, the situation is complicated. Yes, there are Palestinians that are suffering there, but the real question is how all of us can lead to a better future and not end this war in Gaza as another round, because I was a minister in the Israeli Security Cabinet in the last rounds of operations in Gaza. One, we thought that deterrence would be enough. The second, we thought that any understanding with Hamas, I didn't support it because I think that Hamas should be delegitimized. But I would advise all of us to do what we decided on the first round of negotiations with the Palestinians, that it's not about blame game or history, but about finding a solution. And since you've mentioned Netanyahu, I'm his own political opponent for many years. You know, he tries to convince the Palestinians that Fatah and Hamas are the same. And my policy, my strategy for many years was to make a distinction between Hamas, because Hamad Shtayyeh said that Hamas accept two states, but they don't accept the idea of end of conflict, which is more important, or it goes with it. And therefore, he enters into this trap. The only way to achieve peace is by an understanding that the choice is not between Israelis and Palestinians, but between those that want and are willing to take also, of course, political risks and other to achieve peace on both sides. And just entering to a blame game or calling the international community, give us a state, this is not helpful.
You have been in the center of negotiations at Tzipi Livni. You support a two-state solution. You're also, you're in Israel. You see the trauma of October 7th, and the population is traumatized. There is no appetite right now for a two-state solution, or at least very little appetite. And so, and this is our final round of questions, by the way, so I'd just like everybody to perhaps have a last little final word here before we open it up to questions from everybody else. You've said that it will be difficult to convince Israelis to support peace, to support a two-state solution. Do you see any hope?
Yes, I see hope. It is true that Israel is under trauma, all of us also, personally. This kind of horrors you mentioned, and thank you for that, the hostages, they need to be released because they were taken. These are crimes against humanity. But speaking about two states or future, there is also a need to understand that also on the Palestinian side, there are those supporting the idea of two states for two peoples. We didn't reach an agreement, but they represent aspiration, legitimate aspiration of the Palestinians for a state. Hamas does not. Hamas does not accept the right of Israel to exist. And therefore, those that are speaking now about eternal peace with Hamas, they don't understand the nature. It's not just a terrorist organization for some freedom fighters. Gaza Strip could have been free if they had renounced violence. We left Gaza. We didn't want to be there. We don't want to control the Palestinian life. And therefore, for those of you here that not just, speaking in terms of slogans, but understand the complexity of the situation, also on the Palestinian side, there are those that are obstacle for peace. And Hamas is the main obstacle. Not only a terrorist organization, not only a jihadist group, not only a charter that speaks about killing Jews or Israelis living, and this is what they did. Not only promised to have more massacres in the future if they remain. And therefore, and as I said, I'm a political opponent on Netanyahu, but I support the war in Gaza. I support the strategic need to eliminate Hamas as a terrorist organization and as a regime, and hopefully, just to give one hopeful sentence, I know that there are negotiations now. The US, the Saudis, hopefully Jordan, Egypt, the PA. If this, and this is something can grip up, there's a need for us also in Israel to understand that the outcome of this can be secure. And I'm speaking about those supporters of two states, not all the Israelis support it, or not all parts of this government, but yes, for us, we need to understand that it brings security, we have a new security structure in the region with the Saudis, with Jordan, with others. And by having that, and there are change on realities also on Gaza, and this hopefully can make a change.
Tzipi Livni,
okay,
your final thoughts.
I just want to follow what you said to show the complexity of the situation, because we spoke about 67 line. You are speaking about one Palestinian state with a corridor. This corridor didn't exist in 67, and as you know. So I'm trying to say that the complexity of the situation is more than just the slogans that some are using. But I need to give an answer to a question that I'm being asked, and this is the question about, toll of death. I mean, they've killed, butchered 1,200. What is happening in Gaza in terms of numbers is higher than that. And the real way for those, we want to judge it in a moral and legal perspective. And I'm not asking the world to turn a blind eye to what Israel is doing in Gaza, but judge us in according to your own moral and legal justice and legal system. Because the loss of life for Israeli and Palestinian, I mean, it's the same. We are not speaking about the nature of the grief. It's awful. But here you have those that target civilian deliberately, targets, killed, raped. This is who they are. Israel is a democracy. We are trying to avoid civil casualties. I was in the Israeli cabinet. I know how it works. So I'm not saying that you cannot ask questions or get the answers, but to make this comparison, it's immoral. You cannot compare these terrorists that are looking for children to kill to an army that tries to avoid civil casualties. And to your question about whether, listen, not all the Israelis are the same, not all the Palestinians are the same. You can find in Israel those supporting peace, supporting the idea of two states, and those that are completely against it, as you know, and some believe in greater Palestine between the river to the sea. Same in Israel, those believing in greater Israel between the river to the sea. I hope, and this is the only hope for Israelis and Palestinians alike, to find on both sides the leadership that understands that the best option for their own people is to find the way forward and to acknowledge the legitimate rights of the other side. And therefore, I'm using not just the word of two states, but two states for two peoples, that gives an answer to national aspiration of different peoples. I negotiated peace. During these negotiations on the other side, the representatives of the PLO, Fatah, accepted the existence of the State of Israel. We didn't reach understandings on borders and other things. But I would like to say, since it was asked also about mistakes, in 2014, there was on the table an American paper. I think it was just and fair to the Palestinians as well. And unfortunately, no answer was given. So sometimes the choice between 0 or 100% of what you want gives you a 0. And I hope that both sides would understand the nature of compromises that are needed.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.